Well, see, I've been watching Mario 64 speedruns, and those are great because there's so much motor control that Mario has. Mario is so fit. Mario's in such good shape that there's so many cool tricks you can do as him. It's really a delight to watch.
Dude, he has to. He spins Bowser around by Bowser's tail. Think of the core strength you would have to have in order to do that.
He's definitely doing crunches, like a lot of crunches. They put that in the first game, but you don't get to actually play that in America.
Mario can straight up kick in the middle of the air.
He can, I don't know if it's a single person that can do that.
No. I mean, like, he kicks and gets more height.
Yeah, well, he qualified for the Olympics, so I would hope that he's in good shape.
Yeah, but most people who don't qualify, most people qualified for the Olympics can't double jump.
Yeah, and Wario qualified too, and that guy's not in good shape.
I always enjoyed those old those glitchy ass N64. I think like just discovering video game glitches was always kind of like a pivotal occupying like moment of my fascination with YouTube. Just like some weird notes scrawled on a wall that no one was ever supposed to see about by some programmer who hated his job. I lived for that shit.
Did you like the rumor that there was a Mew underneath the red truck in the original Pokemon games?
That's not a rumor. My dad does work for Square Enix, and he knows a guy at Game Freak.
Square Enix Pokemon.
That was actually Squaresoft back then.
Yeah. My dad's actually Hideo Kojima. I didn't want to tell you guys, but he's giving me... They are buying Metal Gear Solid. Nintendo's buying it from whatever company that owns it, Panasonic.
Okay,
now.
You're not allowed to joke about Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima suffered more than you ever will in your entire life.
Disney's buying Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding, and they're integrating it with Star Wars. Death Stranding is actually the first movie.
I'm just still cracking up about Hideo Kojima being your dad.
Please stop talking.
Like, you go to play catch with Hideo Kojima, but before you can play catch, there's a 30-minute long cutscene.
Lectures you about the economy.
He actually was like a consultant for the hit game Backyard Baseball. Actually, this is something that a lot of people didn't know. It was originally released in Japan, and all of the like sort of ethnically ambiguous characters were like Uyghurs. That was his entire. He insisted on that.
If Backyard Baseball and Metal Gear Saga were both part of the Disney universe, who would be the new Disney princesses?
Pablo Sanchez.
Well, they're part of Star Wars. I mean, I feel bad because my dad could get fired now that I've told you this.
Well, Leia's a Disney princess now because she's Disney.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Legally, you are correct.
Welcome to 30-Minute Worlds.
God damn. That's
we just infringed on a lot of copyrights for 3.5 minutes.
Fine.
Oh, that's okay. This will only make Disney more likely.
Multinationals suing us.
Disney will be more likely to buy us out after all that free advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
So we make up worlds in this show, and we do that by having a lore lad, and then having 3 other people give prompt words, and then out of just 3 words, we craft an entire world to explore. Really a magical process.
And it's always a well-realized, fleshed-out world that isn't stupid.
I don't think we've ever dropped the ball. Yeah, I think we've...
That's our guarantee to you, the listener.
All of these are future franchises. Like we've just spawned 20+ Harry Potters.
We're merging Sea of Time with Death Stranding, Star Wars, Harry Potter, which is the new super cinematic universe that Disney is pushing.
Sea of Time isn't even the worst thing in that.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not. Thank God my dad was on board. You know,
he really brought the whole picture together. I think.
Hang on, I'm gonna roll the dice here and figure out who the lad is before we just go off on a cliff. It's a 1. That's Chessman.
Oh, that is me.
Oh boy,
responsibility falls.
Beard session.
You. Okay.
Hey, give me them prompts.
Y'all
Chessman,
got the prompts.
The prompt is egg.
My prompt word is Trickster.
Trickster.
Oh, yeah.
I had a prompt word, and I swear, I don't mean to Chessman here. I had a prompt word, and I forgot it, and now I feel like kind of an idiot. Oh,
wow.
Death. My prompt word was death.
Death? Death?
Death.
Or death. Okay.
The act of dying.
Oh, okay. Because
Not the common name,
Egg?
Detha.
Egg Trickster Death.
Again?
This is just a light novel. That's all this is.
Oh man.
Where's your brain going, Lorelad?
I don't really want to go the direction I initially thought, because when I heard egg, egg is a term for somebody who hasn't yet come out.
That sounds like safe, non-controversial waters for us to tread in.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's veer clear.
So let's talk about eggs. Okay. So there's I'm trying to roll death into it in the beginning.
Well, no,
it's not working.
egg is life and birth. Egg and death is very much like life and death.
So what I'm imagining is as a Grim Reaper kind type of character that pulls pranks and steals eggs from people.
Okay,
What I've got so far.
Okay, thank you, Orlad.
He stole the egg
Could
of
that
life.
be? Hang on. I laugh because it's a silly premise, but could that be like a thing we could work with?
Well, I don't. The only bit. So stealing eggs, I feel like we can go like a much more impactful egg portion. Like maybe people come from eggs. Maybe like what if people came?
Well, that's the thing. People do come from eggs because these are like let's say that this world is populated entirely, almost entirely by animals,
snake people,
animal people,
snake people.
Sure, snake people's good. Sure. And they lay eggs.
Yeah. Okay. What is death? Do they have a Grim Reaper figure, or is death a part of their life in their day to day?
What if they have a trickster deity that stole the first eggs that the snake people were born from death?
Oh, interesting. And that's how they're allowed to give birth at all?
Yeah, it's like they were snatched from Death's jaws, and he's a trickster, but he's like their patron deity, basically.
He hid the eggs as like he disguised them as rocks or whatever, and that's why eggs are mottled and look weird.
And it works too because snakes do steal eggs, like from other animals too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So is Death trying to get back at them? Because of what their god did?
Yeah, because currently the setup sounds like it's all just mythology so far. So, like, Death... why does Death want the eggs?
Well, they were his.
Okay.
Because if you take the eggs, then they can become alive, and Death doesn't want them to become alive.
I have an idea. What if every egg... Like for an egg to hatch, there's a requirement of sacrifice. Like say 10 snake people have to die for an egg to be hatched.
But wouldn't that kill off all the snake people?
Yes.
Yeah, the math just doesn't work there.
What if...
what if there's another species?
Yeah, what if 10 non-snake people have to die?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What if these snakes, when they steal other races' eggs?
Oh, and they can turn them into their own eggs?
Yeah.
Either that or they have to sacrifice. Like maybe it's like an Aztec type thing where, like for whatever reason, whatever compact with your god, maybe it was a trick. Maybe like in the mythology, like that, it's all the results of their trickster god.
Could it be something like,
Well, my idea
snakes are predators.
My idea is that in the mythology, the snakes, the trickster snake god, stole an egg from Death, so he could have a kid, and then Death cursed it, the logic doesn't quite work. Something about stealing an egg from death, and then death cursed it with infertility, and that's why they have to steal
But the trickster,
eggs.
then the trickster god was like, well, you guys can steal eggs from other species. Other, let's assume, egg-laying species, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Well, they would have to be, yeah.
Well, maybe, so before we get to the mythology, what if the other species than snake people are humans? What if humans kind of live in the shadow of these like Aztec sacrificial, death-worshipping snake people?
Okay.
In the shadow, how?
Well, I assume that they would run the hell away from any snakes, considering that they're sacrificed routinely.
Is that it, or is it the opposite? The snake people live in a parallel world, sort of, not a parallel world, but like a sort of like a you can't tell the mortals about magic sort of thing.
Well, this is interesting because have y'all heard of capturomancy?
No.
The Greek art of divining things through mirrors, inserted like partway into the water. The Greeks believed that snakes were special in that they could only that they like inhabited a dream world and could be seen through mirrors and could travel through them. What if there were some of that in play here?
Yes. Are
you envisioning the humans looking through the mirrors, or the snakes?
No, the snakes can go through mirrors.
The snakes can travel through mirrors to their world.
Or mirrored
That's
reflections.
how they've remained hidden from death, who wants to fuck with them for so long.
Right.
Because
death doesn't have a reflection.
Their trickster god hid them in mirrors and reflections.
Yes. Okay.
And so the trickster god, he took the eggs through the mirror and he taught like the ancestors of this race how to use them to evade death.
Yeah, like the first mirror, which was like this reflective like lake or whatever. And then he led the snake species in there and they followed him.
One story I like for the origin of this stuff is that the trickster god was dealing with death, and he made an offer. It's like, Death, if you don't take this egg, if you don't take this future child, I will give you a life in return. And Death said, okay. And that was the way of the land for a while, that one person had to be sacrificed for an egg to live. But eventually, through convoluted mythology reasons you can fill out later, the trickster god became bitter and angry and more Loki-ish. He kind of turned against his family. So he kept he started negotiating up with Death. Started like basically bungling it on purpose, so Death now requires 2 lives for an egg, or 3 lives. And at this point, 10 lives are required for an egg to hatch.
But like, that would... I guess they're not snake lives. So
human lives.
So he's trying to kill his own species?
I mean, he's bitter. Basically, he's an embittered trickster god who just wants more discord at this point.
In his youth, maybe, he envisioned himself as a sort of, like, freedom fighter or, like, a trickster, like, against, like, the authority of death. But now he's spent all the time since that basically fighting death or, like, trying to avoid death. And it's made him so that he can't really do other trickster things that he'd like to do.
But like, why would he?
Initially, there's a plague.
It sounds like he's making the choice, right, to have it be worth 10 lives instead of. What did the snake people do to piss him off?
Oh, I imagine there's a whole mythology you could fill in with if this is Loki's snake, there's a pantheon of snakes, snake gods. There's a Thor, there's an Odin. They can disrespect him, they can cast him out, they can... all sorts of explanations for why Trickster God would become embittered. But maybe, like, the origin is that snake eggs were dying, there was a disease going around. And he made this deal with death. But he's now started ruining the deal, which is making things a lot more tenuous.
You could say, too, that on the other side of the mirror, where the snake people live, it's still an unfamiliar environment to them. Things are harsher there, magic is wilder. So he's led them into this realm that's kind of his realm to control.
Ooh, yeah, let's call it the Shimmer.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So he's led them into the Shimmer, which may have been his plan all along, to get these people there and to have them be completely dependent on him, in which case he's more of a nefarious sort of force than we've even laid out before. And he conducts them to raid our like real space realm.
Let's call him Knifetongue. I think he needs a name.
Knifetongue.
Okay. Knifetongue. All right.
Yeah.
Can we take like, because we've just moved around quite a bit, like
We have
2 minutes and just sort of like bullet points this?
Yeah, so
Okay, what I got so far is you've got snake people that can't have to essentially kill 10 humans to hatch an egg.
that's one of their own.
And this is explained via this mythology of this knife-tongue betrayer snake that is like, I guess, intentionally bungling bargains with death. See, the thing that I think is missing from that is death must have some sort of like, no, some moment of like of repaying death, or there has to be some sort of like renegotiation or something.
well, maybe instead of bungling more negotiations, like he just like switches to allying with death so he can up the stakes.
You're right, because death wants more people to die, and eventually death is like, so he kind of, death is becoming more insistent. It's like it's time for your kin to pay back your due, and the snake's like, not yet. We can get more time. We can get more people. Just give us more time. And death's like, well, you have to fetch me X number of people, and then X times 2, and so on and so forth.
Let's say death is called the hunger.
I like that.
Okay.
Because this death is like hungry for souls. Not all death conceptions are like, yes, more dead people, but this one is.
The more proper nouns there are in a fantasy setting, the better that setting is.
Yes.
Proper nouns and apostrophes in the middle of names are the two like big barometers of good ass lit. What's interesting is that humans can't travel through to the shimmer through mirrors.
Right.
So snakes have to go in and kill them on the human's turf and hide their eggs there. I think it'd be cool if also these snake people, these nagas, they can't spend too long in our realm or death will come for them.
Right, that's why they have to hide.
Yeah, they have to hide in the mirrors. So they have to have these like lightning fast raids pretty much on human settlements, none of which have mirrors in them. Right? No, humans would smash all the mirrors instantly.
No, I guess it would mostly come from lakes that have mirrored surfaces.
Right,
you can't cover up a lake. Though actually maybe near some like major cities.
It's like the only setting where you don't want to settle near water at all.
Right.
Yeah, actually that's really cool. Yeah.
Or if you are, you like always have the water moving.
And so like people think of water as a breeding ground for nagas, but what if it's actually, wise men know that it's actually the reflection that nagas hide inside. And if you're on moving water, you're safe.
I think it's an interesting supposition. What's an easier word for supposition? Assumption. It's not an easier word. Baked into that everyone knows that the snakes are doing this. That's an interesting assumption, because I think if they're coming out of mirrors and then disappearing, that's a classic like folktale, like we don't know what's doing this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And like because they have to get like 10 humans, it would be very unlikely for snakes to...
Yeah, they fail a lot of the time. Yeah.
Well, no, snakes probably wouldn't be hunting in the same area because there's so many. You have to kill so many. Like you've like a serial killer kills 10 people in the same area. They have a very high likelihood of getting found.
Yeah. People are gonna start like gating over the wells and stuff. They're gonna move away from lakes. It's stuff like that.
If they know the snakes are coming out of lakes.
I think we can. It's possible that we want to change it from 10 lives to just a life for life.
I kind of like the idea of an upping ante, though.
Yeah, like it makes it more dangerous.
Maybe not 10. 10's kind of extreme.
Well, maybe it can like rise over time.
Like it could just be the death is increasing his demands. Like that makes it harder for the snakes and more dangerous for the humans.
Right. So maybe I like when we kind of branch out our settings into different time periods based on what's changing. So like maybe there's a point where it's a life for a life, and these are kind of folk tales that they're nagas coming out of mirrors and surfaces. But by the time that they're having to harvest 10 people for every new naga life, like society has adapted to just be like on snake defense at all times.
Oh yeah, let's say guns have been invented, and like if you see like a naga, you just gun them down instinctively.
Well, so maybe it never actually increased, right? Like the effectiveness of taking one life, like one life could always could always lead to the new hatching of a snake. And that's still the case, but the number of lives that you take during the gestation of an egg, like, increases the lifetime of that snake by like many-fold.
And maybe what death starts doing is death starts, like, if you only use one life for a new snake, the children that are born are weak and sickly, and they die more often in their infancy. Like, that could be what that looks like as to why they have to start raiding more.
I think they can't die in the mirror realm. I think this is important to establish. The idea that they die in their infancy is like they went to the mirror realm or the shimmer originally because death couldn't touch them there.
Well, you touched up on before hiding the eggs in the real world. What if it was like a sea turtle sort of thing?
Yeah, you have to bury them in.
They can't be born or die in the real world, or in the shimmer world. You can't die or be born.
Right. So these snakes would have nests in the real world that humans are going to try and find as well and seek out and destroy.
Yeah, and like it plays into Belvin's idea of multiple times in setting, because in the early world, it's like a myth. Like maybe you stumble upon a cache of snake eggs, and maybe there's even like some people that claim that like, oh, you'll be rewarded with gold. And then by the time that we get to this later era, there are bands of armed, basically soldiers that just go around trying to find and exterminate these places.
Right. It's interesting because they can't die in the mirror realm, so the only time they're losing their own population is as a result of the humans or death finding them in the other world, you know? As a result of these missions, which is interesting.
What if they age in the mirror realm? So they can get to a point where they're just so miserable. They're just limp old, dusty old snakes that they just leave to die in our world.
Yeah, I think you're right. There has to be some impetus for them to continue to reproduce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and then it would also be hard to, like, if they didn't age in the mirror realm, then like a young snake would stay like a newborn snake would stay newborn if you brought it into the mirror realm. It would just be kind of bizarre.
So let's talk about how they incubate these eggs with human lives. What process is there? Would their wise men know how to do it?
I see it like as an Aztec thing. Like they're at the top of a ziggurat, and they like pour blood in a ritual fashion from the bodies in these alcoves. I see it like needing to be like a religious thing. Keep in mind,
they can't bring humans into the shimmer.
They can bring dead humans.
Yes,
but they can bring the blood, right?
No, I think they bring bodies. I think they just like
they have to bring humans into the shimmer.
Yeah.
They bring dead bodies into the shimmer.
I think
humans can go into the shimmer. It's just they have to either have to be brought or they have to know how to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's more interesting. That leaves the possibility for like some characters who take the fight to them.
Well, what if magic in this universe is also tapping into the shimmer? Yes. And the more magically gifted you are, you actually have a chance of traversing that veil.
I'm envisioning this as being really, really low magic.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
So what I'm seeing is like magic is like maybe when you tap into the shimmer, you can do things that should like technically physically not be possible just because you're kind of tapping into another reality, another realm, another dimension, so to speak. But it's not like you're casting spells. You're not casting fireball with a shimmer.
What if there's only one kind of magic you could theoretically do, which is create a double of yourself? Because we've established it's kind of a mirror-shaped realm. If you were to tie a magic system into that, there would be people who could be twinned, basically.
I don't know. I just don't think that's a very strong connection.
Yeah, like And that's not the only thing you can do with mirrors either. You can distort images and use light and stuff like that. So it's not like the only thing it does.
Yeah, I like being able to maybe temporarily distort yourself. Doubles is just another. Maybe we have a lot of concepts in play. Is the thing
we do. We're juggling a lot of balls.
I think I'm going to veto talking about any magic system that doesn't directly relate to human snake interfacing.
Yes, sir.
Because it's just way too much going on already.
All right, makes sense.
Assertive.
Hey, so I'm having trouble because we went from like Trickster snake steals eggs. And now he needs 10 of them. How many eggs did Trickster Snake steal? To like doppelganger mirror wizards. Like
that's another dimension we don't need. But I think we have something strong set up with sort of a mirror dimension full of murderous Aztec snakes who are only murderous because they have to, because that has been reduced to their method of reproduction to enable new life.
Mm-hmm. Well, they would eventually glorify it too. They would have to in order to keep their culture like strong.
Yeah, they develop. Maybe Knifetongue gives whispers to the priests, and he tells stories. That's what he always has done and will do. He creates these stories around the sacrifices and necessity.
I just realized if the snakes are hiding in the mirror so that because death can't find them in the mirror.
Right.
And they're taking humans that are like either, well, let's say they're almost expired. Then the humans are trapped in this like state of like being very near death, but death can't find them.
Right.
Because they've been taken
kill them in the mirror.
Oh, that's dark.
So you're actually consuming you're consuming live humans in this ritual.
Like a snake would. You swallow them whole.
Yeah.
Well, that's dark, but that's also kind of cool. So
that is cool.
You were the one talking about blood ziggurats.
Because if death can't come to take their soul, then you take their soul.
Right. So these are less king cobra nagas and more like boa constrictor. That's dark.
I kind of enjoy, I don't know whether we want to go this route, but I like the idea of there being like all these different kinds of snake, Wadjet, Naga snake people. Mm-hmm. Like there are like big ones, boa constrictor ones, there's medium ones, and maybe there's like little garter snake guys who, if you have a flat surface, like just you have a cup of water, you're not moving it around, that's a mirror surface, and there's like a little snake guy can jump in.
Like they just creep in. Yeah, I think it would be neat if all forked tongues, like that's the race name, knew instinctively how to use this magic, even if they were like animals, you know?
Mm-hmm. Huh. Because they've existed in this alternate dimension for so long, it would change, like, basically evolutionarily, like, their species.
Well, we could tie in their origin to mythology. Like, there could be...
I think we should talk about actually...
Ooh, I have an idea. So there's a guy who looked into a mirror long ago, and Knifetongue was in his ear. Knifetongue wasn't a snake person at this point. And Knifetongue kept telling him about how hideous he is, how awful he is. He was just making him hate himself and hate himself and hate himself. And as he looked into the mirror, his visage became more and more warped and untrustworthy and dangerous. And eventually he saw a snake person in there. And through that process came into being the snake people.
So the snake people are twisted reflections of ourselves. That's where they come from?
That's the origin story. And with myth, it doesn't have to be, strictly speaking, true, but...
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think we need to nail down, while we quickly have time, we need to talk about the practices of the snake people and the practices of humanity in dealing with them.
Right.
We need to talk about how the eggs are incubated and the logistics of that, because that is important in this setting. And we need the ritual that kills people. If death, again, can't find them in the shimmer, and Chessman, you've suggested bringing live people into the shimmer for this ritual, how do their lives get consumed? You know, if they're just swallowed.
That's the thing. Yeah, they get like swallowed whole.
Right, but if they can't die, then wouldn't they just get excreted and then swallowed again, and there'd be no need to get new people?
No, here's the thing. You can still you still digest them, and you still take their essence. What death can't do, death can't come to take their souls away. So they take, when the snakes eat people, they take their souls.
Right, but isn't the whole
sense.
point of them wanting to get people in exchange for snake lives because they're giving more souls to death than they originally took from him?
Well, they take the souls and then they put the souls into the ritual and 10 souls.
I think it makes sense for them to kill them outside the Shimmer and use like the blood ritually or something. But with the logistics of how we've established the mirrors working with death, I don't think it makes sense to bring them, because you're just cucking death if you bring them in and like blue ball him like that.
I guess I've kind of gone to the point where, like, why would they now be giving the like, let's say this is like the end of the this is the latest stage of the timeline. Let's say maybe they did that before, and maybe they've
broken the pact.
Yeah.
So like, instead of
such a shitty relationship with death now,
they're not honoring the arrangement anymore. They're just trying to make stronger snakes.
Right.
Okay. So in terms of what their society looks like, I've been seeing them as like an Aztec type people.
Yeah.
With maybe like very elaborate and cool culture based around their religion, their mythology, and also like very morbid people. It's because it's increasingly so because of how death has taken such a prominent role in their lives.
Yeah. If you have to get 10 humans and bring them back to hatch one egg, it would be mostly familial, right? Like all the like snake men and warriors of one family would go out, like 12 or 13 of them from some lake, and they'd have to go in hunting parties.
Oh, I like that. There would be dynasties, maybe, like lots of houses and dynasties.
There would be, yeah. And you would send out armies even sometimes if you were like rich enough and needed an heir. But humans in the parallel society would have learned long ago never to travel alone and only travel in groups, especially if you're going by regions with a lot of still water. I think humans would also, they'd get rid of natural lakes through irrigation. They're clever like that.
It's interesting to think that like what is idyllic, like river country and like lake country, is the most dangerous place to be a human in this setting. It's not desirable land because it's a lot of work to basically drain off and destroy a big lake.
No,
on
oceans are too.
On a dead air night, you can have oceans that are barely moving.
Yeah, on a real halcyon day.
On a dark night, you see a lot of reflection at night with the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, it's mostly choppy, but like there are occasions when you can have still ocean waters.
All right. So here's the last. Here's the last. I'm gonna put this last twist on this. And you guys can't see shit because we're almost out of time.
I hate this tradition. You're like, the snakes are actually dogs.
So of course, back in the old days when the snakes had a better deal with death, they were started out as just being a menace. And then as they kept needing more and more lives, they turned into, like, they started raiding with entire armies and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then over time, as they needed, because they need 10 whole fucking human lives.
Well, yeah, armies would cause losses to the snakes too.
Yeah, it really starts to wear on them, and they start losing because they need to win by such a huge margin.
Right. If like 3 snake people die in battle, you need 30 humans to replace them.
Right.
So over time, they've died out a lot and have become, in some parts of the world, I'm sure in some parts of the world, they're still a thing, and they probably have the whole classic like vampire trope or Dracula trope where like he's got a town that they just prey on, and they're like, well, we gotta give them to them, like otherwise they're gonna kill us all.
The only way the crops turn out good. We've had shit crops for years. Well, that's because we ain't been feeding them enough.
No, you should get some more.
Justin, I love that. So, sort of like the third part of the timeline is a decline, like kind of a declined empire on the snake side, where things are kind of moved a little bit back to being not so much a tale, but they know they exist, but they're not like the whole human society isn't mobilized for war like they used to have to be. And maybe I like to think that Knifetongue, maybe at some point he can get a bit of a heel turn and feel repentance for what he's done and try to fix the whole problem. But that's a story for another day. Try to sweeten the deal
again. Yeah. And it's modern day. And we're in a place. Modern day in the setting. And we're in a nation now where there hasn't been a snake murder in maybe generations. It's been that long.
It's almost mythologized, yeah.
And you're going to summer camp with your friends to Placid Lake summer camp.
No. God.
And then one night, a snake, you see something slithering out of the lake. All right.
And that's our show.
And we'll cut that last bit where it turns into a summer camp story.
It's an easy adaptation. Studios love it. They want it.
This has always been a summer camp story. Snakes are always a summer camp story.
What is
tin campers?
The level of fucking control you tried to exert, just even as lore lad, was almost like a my dad level move in terms of like how he creatively designs his set.
When you said summer camp, I did think you were going to go like Digimon and like a group of kids stumble into the shimmer or some shit like that.
No, it's a horror.
It's all Stephen King.
It's obviously a horror. We only do horror now.
Shift forward, the year 2200.
Baseball giant. Well, it is sort of horrifying.
They're on Uranus. They're looking at the reflective ice. What do they see?
How could they have known?
It's a snake person in space.
Oh no.
Starring George Clooney.
That's our show. If you like this episode, you can subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice to get new episodes every Wednesday. If you're feeling real saucy, go ahead and write us a 5-star review on iTunes. That's right, lie about how good we are. And share us with all your world-building friends. It's a big help to us. Our art is courtesy of the talented and wonderful Shell Tor at Jovial Paradox on Twitter. You can tweet at us too at LoreLads or send us hate mail at 30minuteworlds@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy world building.